Intro. Hello moviegoers and welcome to Moviegoer. I'm Max Forrest.
I'm Paul Ogie.
And today I will be reviewing the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, directed by Tobe Hooper. Let's roll the trailer.
What happened was true. The most bizarre and brutal series of crimes in America. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. After you stop screaming, you'll start talking about it.
Here's the internet synopsis. When Sally hears that her grandfather's grave may have been vandalized, she and her paraplegic brother, Franklin, set out with their friends to investigate. After a detour to their family's old farmhouse, they discover a group of crazed, murderous outcasts living next door, as the group is attacked one by the chainsaw-wielding Leatherface, who wears a mask of human skin. The survivors must do everything they can to escape. Horrifying, grotesque, sickening, and a masterpiece. With a staggering 91 on Metacritic, this has to be one of the most effective horror movies ever created, and oh man, it stands the test of time. The movie was inspired by Ed Gein, a man who murdered people and turned them into furniture. A female lead winds up in a room filled with that stuff, and it's disturbing as hell. And of course we have to mention the iconic moment in the film when the young woman is running from Leatherface. She gets out of the house briefly and then gets picked up from behind by Leatherface. Here's a funny meme. When boys hug you from behind. That made me laugh. So, Paul, I'm interested in hearing your opinions about what you've seen of the movie. Did you see the whole movie?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I watched it once, years ago, and
Yeah.
it has stuck with me since. It is like one of the most, like you said, effective horror movies. And what's insane is that there's barely any blood in it.
Yeah.
You know, they barely show anything, but somehow they get you to imagine everything so perfectly, you know? And, you know, your imagination can go a long way, and this movie does a really effective job at making you think the worst, you know?
Now, I'm going to be reviewing the OG Texas Chainsaw and the 2003 remake. Let's do some comparing and contrasting. What both films have is something in cinema called the male gaze. In both films, we get completely unnecessary ass shots, just shameless ass shots. In the 2003 movie, Jennifer Beals' character has the skimpiest tank top she could wear. She reminds me of Daisy Dukes. Am I complaining? No, but ultimately it's not good. Both films open with a hitchhiker scene. In the 2003 film, the hitchhiker is a woman who is very distraught and crying about something. She then takes a gun and BAM! Blows her brains out. This is very different than in the OG movie. They pick up a lunatic who turns out to be a part of a family of killers at the end. He cuts his hand with a knife and then attacks the paraplegic Franklin, who wasn't in the remake. They force him out of the van. There's an incredible scene that they didn't do in the remake, the dinner from hell at the end of the OG. How could they not have done this? Instead, they replaced it with some long and uninspired chase sequence. Lame. Just watch how horrifying this scene is.
You can make him stop. No, shit.
Shut your mouth. You like this, Steve?
There was a scene in the 2003 version where Jessica Biel is in the basement and one of her friends is on a meat hook. He begins to beg her to knife him, so she knifes him, killing him. That wasn't in the OG, but the meat hook, that was in the OG. In the OG, Sally and her brother Franklin, who is in a wheelchair, are walking in the woods. It's creepy, and then kaplow! Leatherface comes out of nowhere and chainsaws Franklin out of nowhere.
Sally, I hear something. Stop! Stop!
My favorite kill, not in the remake, Here, I'm going to give the remake the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they wanted to do their own thing and not be a copy of the OG. That makes a lot of sense. Well, if that was the intention, they did a pretty bad job at it. Unfortunately. But it wasn't without trying. A nitpick. There was a clear moment when Jessica Biel could have picked up the chainsaw and used it on Leatherface. She didn't. Bothered me. Another nitpick. The camera work was very shaky during the action, and it was hard to see what was going on. Again, it's such a shame replacing the dinner from hell with some dumb chase. The film fleshed out some things from the original, but didn't improve upon them. My verdict of the 2003 version? It's a 2.5 out of 5. Watch the original, which is unreviewable. It's just an experience. Hey everybody, if you're enjoying the review, why not subscribe and set notifications?
So yeah.
Macabre. That's what this movie was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a shot to the senses.
Yeah.
Really stands the test of time. Barely anything to nitpick. So grotesque.
You know what's great? You know what's actually really, really wild about it? When they were first making it, there's more blood in Jaws than there is in this movie. So they were thinking they were trying to go for a PG rating.
No way.
Yeah, they were. And the first cut of the movie got a straight X rating. And they're like, what the?
What? But we made a kids movie.
Yeah, there's no blood in it. What are you talking about? And they actually had to fight to get it down to like a rated R. Even though really, there really isn't that much shown in the movie. It's all in your imagination.
Yeah.
But that shows how effective the movie is at making you think. Imagine if it actually was, if they did give it a PG and kids watched that. Like, are you crazy?
Speaking of ratings, and do you know the origin of the PG-13?
Oh yeah, right. That was one of the Indiana Jones movies?
That's right,
yeah,
Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
Kalima. Isn't that what he's saying when he rips his heart out? Yeah, that's a PG-13.
Yeah, that's right.
Back in the day, PG movies had like nudity.
Yeah.
Like, I remember watching Captain Ron with my family and with Kurt Russell, and this couple were just making out in the shower and each other ladies' boobs.
But, Airplane. There's
Really?
that, in Airplane, when the train's crashing, that like topless lady like walks across the screen.
Wow.
And that's PG. You know what else is PG? Beetlejuice, the first Beetlejuice.
That makes sense.
Well, no, but there's that one part where Beetlejuice is small and like the.
Oh, he says the F word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which that you definitely can't do that nowadays.
No. What are we talking about?
Texas Chainsaw.
Oh,
We
yeah.
got off on a tangent. But yeah, man, this movie is hugely cultural, impactful. Not just in America, but in the world. I'm not sure if it was this movie exactly, but have you ever heard of the video nasties?
No.
It was this big movement in the UK to like censor and block like, disturbing, violent movies from being released. And the filmmakers really fought for this movie to not be part of the video nasties because they keep saying we're not actually showing anything, And I think the reason why it got so much hate from like the critics and everything at the time for being gruesome was, well, obviously definitely the subject matter. It's very disturbing. But if you think about it, this came out like right around the time of like Vietnam, and a little bit before that JFK was just assassinated. So it's like there was so much violence in the media, and this was the first time newscasters were able to actually very quickly and effectively show what was going on in Vietnam in America, and to really show like the brutality of war and violence. So when this movie came out, they didn't need to show the violence because the thought of violence was already on everyone's minds. And so I think when they were originally working on it, they wanted to actually show the more gruesome kills, but they decided to lean off of it because they were like, oh, there's so much violence going on in the real world, let's not push it too far. And it ended up causing this whole this whole thing in the UK about censorship.
It's interesting.
But what's wild too, and then not just this movie, but just in general, when you try to censor something, you're bringing more attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I think it got worldwide appeal because it was being censored. You know? But yeah, man, it's I think this was also shot. I think this was shot on 16mm.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
And it has that like home video kind of feel to it. You know, which makes it feel more real. You know?
Gritty.
Really gritty.
Yeah.
It was actually shot in Texas. You know what's funny too? It's like, I've only seen this movie once, a long time ago. It scarred me. And I never want to watch it ever again.
I didn't even like watching it.
Yeah, you know, it's like, it's not the kind of comfort movie you throw on like in the background.
Unless
you
you're
know?
Jason Bateman doing crunches to it.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, man, this is like, it's left such a big impression. And it has such like a mythical quality to it. Where I remember when I was a kid, you know, when you're riding on the school bus, or you're talking to your friends, and people are like, oh, what's the scariest movie you've ever seen? You know, it's scary. What's the scariest movie? People will say Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it just kind of built this whole like mythological quality to it over the years of being like the scariest movie ever made. You know.
Do you know that really shitty sequel? I think it's the 4th. Is it called The New Beginning or something?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't seen
It
any
had
of the sequels.
Matthew McConaughey in it and Renee Zellweger in it.
Oh,
Two
really?
future Oscar winners in the
wow.
Chainsaw Massacre movie.
Wow, that's funny.
Matthew McConaughey's terrible in it.
That's funny.
It's funny, yeah. You know, I mentioned it before, but it made me laugh so much when the woman's running away and gets out of, and then he grabs her from behind, and brings her in, and the caption is when he hugs you from behind.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like some sweet thing.
That's
When
funny.
he hugs you from behind.
Yeah. You know, there's also like if anyone ever feels like rewatching this movie, there's a fun theory. Maybe that's not fun, but you know how Leatherface is obviously clearly some kind of like mentally handicapped, whatever, and he acts like a young child. There's a way that you can kind of like view this movie as if Leatherface is just a kid trying to protect his home from strangers.
That's interesting.
Because that's really all it is. Once they actually escape and drive away, right? They get on the back of their truck, right, or something.
She gets in a bus, and then that doesn't work out, or something.
But
a truck.
Truck, yeah.
Then she gets in a pickup truck.
Yeah.
And she's like laughing and crying.
As she gets away, Leatherface is actually celebrating. He's like, "Yay!" Like obviously in his own way, but he's like, you can view that as he's celebrating that he ward off all the.
That's really
people,
interesting.
Yeah.
That's really. Where'd you hear that?
I think that there's this Man, that was a long time ago. I heard it in like a video essay somewhere.
That's really smart.
Kind of like an interesting way to kind of view it from a different perspective.
This movie's unwatchable in a way.
Yeah, it's like.
It reminds me of Requiem for a Dream. Did you ever see that?
No.
You never seen that?
No.
Ooh, that's like the ultimate anti-drug movie.
Mm.
It's really, you can only watch it once. There's a famous scene where Ellen Burstyn is giving her monologue, and the camera shakes, and then it's such a sad monologue. And then Darren Aronofsky, it's like, what the fuck? Why is the camera moving? And it's because the cameraman was crying.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And they left that in the edit.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. That's interesting.
It gives you a taste of the movie.
Yeah.
It's harsh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's all, folks.